Hello, I'm Penny Thornton and welcome to my astrology channel. On this video, I'm looking at Scorpio, February 2021. Well, I like the look of February. It's not perfect, but then you'll never ever get a month where every day is just divine. It doesn't work like that. And we also have to remember that a lot of the big alignments that are forming the background to 2021 are still there. They're like that background note. So all the planets, as they move around more quickly around the horoscope, they make for the sort of day-to-day details of our lives. And, so although I'm saying straight off the bat that I think February is a great improvement on January, it's not perfect. Anyway, let's start at the beginning with your chart. We'll have a little look and see where everything is. And I think one of the things that I'm finding fascinating about February, and what I think all of us should be noting about this month, because Jupiter and Saturn went into Aquarius in December, and Pluto will be there in 2023, there is this great feeling that we are really heading fully into the age of Aquarius, which is a big change all around. And there's a kind of acceleration of this as we've entered 2021. And with the sun now coming into Aquarius and Mercury and Venus, and there's a new moon in Aquarius, I think we're really getting a kind of appetizer of some of the aspects of what this age of Aquarius means. So keep your eyes open, especially for things to do with technology and breakthroughs and travel and space and things to do with reforms and all those kind of very Aquarian, I was going to say new agey things, but it's very high tech Aquarius, and it's very scientific, and it's often breakthroughs more in terms of knowledge perhaps than anything else. So for you, as you can see, you've got this cluster of planets down here at the bottom of your chart. And the bottom of your chart is really just like the roots of life. It's everything, if your life was a tree and the horoscope was a tree, everything at the bottom here is the roots of it. So it is very important at this stage of your year that you nourish your roots. And I'm not talking about your hair. I am talking about things to do with family, things to do with the home itself, and things to do with the foundations of the future. Well, yes, the children are the foundations of your future as well, but I think it means really what goals we have. And these aren't just goals like, well, I want to head into the city in, a month's time and do this, that, and the other. I mean, slightly more important things like that. Things like, where you might consider working, maybe a new job or maybe a new really big place to move to and set up residence, and things about relationships. These are, really big goals that we have in life, and they need to be placed on firm foundations. They need to be prepared for. So to a certain extent, you could think of February as a month where you are putting down roots and building platforms for the things that you want to have happen in the rest of the year and beyond. And yes, on a certain level, it is about family. And there may be a lot of things going on within the family during the month of February, whether it's birthdays and anniversaries and developments happening in the lives of members of the family, so that there's a lot going on there. Or it could be the home itself, so that there's a lot of renovation going on, or redecoration or refurbishment. And maybe you're having to replace things that have done their time. And that's certainly a big theme for February, if it isn't a big theme really for 2021. Now, at the beginning of this month, Venus moves into this area as well. And I often think that if we could just look at Venus on her own, that bright, beautiful planet, which is often the one we see sparkling in the night sky, dawn, dusk, usual time. When we, this planet does bring beauty to life. And that's why I say maybe there's some redecoration and renovation going on in the home. But it's also about bringing beauty into the roots of life as well. And I know this is a really, silly thing to say, think beautiful thoughts and beautiful things happen. But I think if our surroundings are beautiful and we make them beautiful, even with a bunch of flowers or a fresh coat of paint or moving the furniture around, whatever it is, it can make us feel that home is our sanctuary. And if our home is a space we enjoy being in, uh, then we can go out and meet the world. Of course, a lot of us have spent rather a lot of time in our homes in this last year, and maybe you're getting a little bit tired of it. But I think this idea of making it a more beautiful space is a good one. Now, throughout 2021, Jupiter will be moving through here, and this is providing protection for you. Yes, things may still go wrong. Life may still not deliver roses, what you want, but Jupiter is there protecting you. A difficult situation isn't as bad as it could have been. And more than that, you will find that perhaps the reason certain things can't go ahead or certain things happen is a very good reason. And you'll find you'll benefit tremendously from some of those things that didn't happen at the time. And that's an important thing to remember in February, because during February, Mercury will hook up to Jupiter and Venus will hook up to Jupiter, or around about the same time, in that sort of second week of February. The 11th, Venus meets Jupiter. The 14th, Mercury meets Jupiter. And you may find that at that particular point in time, you get some really good news or something really lovely happens. I mean, sometimes all it takes is for somebody to say that you look great or that something you've done is really wonderful. And it just makes life great. And it can be as little as that, but it could be much, much more than that. Let's say, for instance, if you're trying to sell a property, that connection, Venus and Jupiter and a new moon in Aquarius, could mean you get an offer on your property or you find a property that you're looking for. But of course, February the 14th is Valentine's Day. So that Venus may have more to do with love and relationships. I certainly think this year has quite a lot more kind of oomph to it in terms of Valentine's Day. I think you may find that you want to make more of it. If you're in a relationship, you want to make it a little bit more romantic, a little bit more special. And if you're single or out of a relationship and you're not interested in love at all, I mean, everybody's interested in love. Come on now. And so I think that moment, any time between about the 10th and the 14th, is a very good time to meditate on love, just to think about what love means and how it feels, and to welcome it into your life. I mean, I'm not a magic oriented person, but I do believe in the power of the mind and the heart. And when we align the mind and the heart with things that we wish to happen, you'd be surprised how efficacious that is. Now, also during the course of this month, we look here, we can see Mars in Taurus in the area of relationships, and of course Uranus here as well. And towards the end of January, Mars was conjunct Uranus. And if you think about the time of the 20th of January, about the time of the US inauguration, Joe Biden, you may be able to pick that moment and say, oh yeah, I remember what happened. Uranus is a blessing and a curse in this position. What it does is bring a lot of change into your relationship life, and it may need it. You may be stuck in a dead-end relationship, it needs to go. You may find that there's no fire and electricity and snap, crackle, and pop about your relationship, and Uranus can bring that into a relationship. But it will also create situations where relationships won't settle. They begin well and then they just dissipate. They go. They go as quickly as they arrived. And I think you might want to look at this pattern, particularly around the 17th of the month. The moon will be working its way through the area of relationships. It will hook up to Uranus, it will hook up to Mars, and it will square these planets here. So, two things to look out for, really. If you meet somebody on that aspect around the 17th, and that's not too far from Valentine's Day, There could be a lot of electricity between you, and certainly that's worth going forward on, as long as you don't try to put the relationship in a straitjacket and make it conform, or try to possess that person and keep it, which is a very scorpionic thing to do. You have to just let it be. That's the whole kind of attitude you need with Uranus. But again, for some, this is going to mark the end of the affair. This is done, you know. But you know, that's part of life. We have endings in relationships, so we get very broken up about them. But hey, we're not thinking about that at all when a new one comes in, and that's everything we wanted and more. And you have to have that kind of philosophy about these breakups and breakdowns, and also these breakthroughs. All good Uranus words. Also, the important thing about the 17th is that Saturn and Uranus will be in their square angle for the first time in this cycle, which goes all the way through 2021. And this is where we're getting that overall theme of old orders ending and new ones emerging out of those old orders. We can see it in governments, we can see it in nations, and we can see it in our own life as well. And I made a little, jolly remark a little while ago about be careful of, things are no longer in use. So you have to watch gadgets and gizmos and machinery, especially laptops and iPhones and things like that, because the Saturn Uranus aspect could say, this device is done and dusted. But I think it's a little bit more important than that, Scorpio. I think this is the idea about moving away from old thought patterns. We are really held in by our thought patterns. And if we can change our thinking, we really do change outcomes. And perhaps this is what that offers, this aspect more than anything, even if it does bring some disruption and change that you didn't want, whether it's on the home front or in relationships or in regard to your career. Even if it does that, what it's going to give birth to is new thinking and new patterns. And that's really important. Last thing I'm going to talk about is the full moon, sun in Pisces, moon up here in Virgo. That's on the creative axis of your horoscope. So it could mean that a period of gestation is done. Now, of course, we talk about gestation in the term of in terms of babies. So it takes 9 months to make a baby. And after the gestation period, it is born. And that's a wonderful thing. And maybe that does indeed apply to you. It has something to do with pregnancy and childbirth, whether that's your own or you're going to become an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent or a godparent, whatever. But of course, there are lots of other things that have gestation periods. You have a gestation period for a love affair where you're just beginning to feel your way about it for a few weeks, and suddenly get a full moon on this axis, and it's time to make a decision. Are we going forward with our love affair in making it into something more permanent, or is this all there is to it? And of course, you can have a gestation period in terms of endeavors and enterprises that you're involved with. So that full moon shows you a stage has been reached, a stage of completion. Last thing to add about that full moon, however, is that sometimes we get a little emotionally kind of out of whack on a full moon. So if you feel yourself, particularly on the 27th, overreacting to things and feeling a bit teary and not quite yourself, that's the full moon. And do your best to take a little time, a little alone time. Don't get involved with things too much, and give, certain things time to settle down, because as the full moon wanes, you will feel differently about it. So let me come back to say my goodbyes. And I'm definitely looking forward to February. I know, as I said when I began, it's not perfect, but it is an improvement. And you know how I am about things. I do believe in the power of the mind. So important. And I think if we're prepared to really look at things differently and prepared to say, look, I can't wave a magic wand and make this go right and that go right, but I can think about it differently. I can set my mind in a good space. You're going to start to see positive change. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on my next video, maybe next month, or my twice monthly videos. Bye for now. Take care.